good or evil, depending on the circumstances in our lives. Going right back to that cycle, the thoughts and the emotions and the behaviors and the consequences. Okay? There are many other factors that can trigger us to think thoughts that may be contrary to the Torah. But our focus right now is our human nature. Okay? So, let's go to Romans chapter 1. And we're going to start at verse 18. Now listen to what he's talking about. And I love the way that he starts this off in this particular letter. And when you think about it, the thought that I put on my mind is that Brother Shaul, he goes back to the beginning. You know, he goes back to the beginning and he wants to walk it up. Because keep in mind who he's talking to. He's talking to people who dwell in Rome. And when you think about Rome, at that time, Rome was the power. Okay? They were the world ruling power, even to this day. Now people think, well, even to this day, well, what about this place and that place? No, there's a thought there. Okay? What you see in today is nothing more than an expansion of the Roman Empire. Even though people may say, well, Rome is not even that powerful. Rome is being considered a city in Italy. They probably say, it's not that powerful today. No, but it is. You just don't understand how it's powerful. It's very powerful today. Okay? When you think about the Vatican, and when you think about the influence of the Vatican, and how the hand is in so many different things. When I'm talking about that hand, think about it in the context of the unseen hand. Okay? And again, all of this is a part of this fourth world ruling system, which according to Holy Scriptures will be in power until the coming of Messiah. It may take on different formations, but it's still the same power, that same source. Okay? Remember, the seven-headed beast, and the seven heads point to the seven hills, and you know, Rome is one of the places that they consider to be the city on seven hills. But what we've learned is that the world, or this earth, has been divided into 7 continents. Wow. 7 continents basically symbolic of the world itself. Okay? And I'm just reiterating some of the points that we've already discussed in previous segments. Well, let's move on. So listen to what Brother Shaul does, starting from the beginning and working his way up. And the point I was about to make in regard to Rome, these people need to hear that. You're part of, you know, it's like how people view the United States government today. Being a United States citizen, and the United States being considered at the time being a superpower, and being a citizen of the USA, that superpower. Imagine the pride of being a United States citizen. Well, they felt the same way back then, because Rome was that superpower at that time. But Rome, or the Roman citizens, now had to be made aware of the history that Abba laid out in his word. So listen to what he said. For the wrath of Elohim is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. And when he said hold the truth in unrighteousness, what he means, he's talking about suppressing it. Meditate on that sometime. The truth is being suppressed. Now, at the moment that this particular teaching is going forth, I already mentioned we're in December. Several things transpired back in November pertaining to big name celebrities, pertaining to Hebrews and Israelites and Jews, etc. And we see the result of, and I'm going to word what Dave Chappelle said in one of his monologues opening for Saturday Night Live. There are 2 words that you should never put together, the and Jews. And what he was saying is that he never seen anything good happen to anybody who did that. So we've seen that recently. Okay? And the question that we're supposed to be asking is, why did that happen? Why is it that Kanye West lost so much? Why is it that Kyrie Irving was punished? Why? Let's go back here. He says, who hold or suppress the truth in unrighteousness. Verse 19. Because that which may be known of Elohim is manifest in them. For Elohim has showed it to them. What has he shown? See, when I read things like this, you have a group of people out there on that side who believe that either God doesn't exist, or if there is a supreme being or a higher power, we could never have any contact with him. Meaning atheist or agnostic who fall under the intellectualism column. Because they will use what they believe is logic and reasoning to dissuade anybody from believing in, but they often mock people who believe in the Most High, and they say the invisible man in the clouds. Okay? But listen to what he says here, verse 19. Because that which may be known of Elohim is manifest in them. For Elohim has showed it to them. See, every human being has the essence of the Most High in them. You know how? Because we live and breathe based on the spirit of life that the Creator gave to us. That's how. Every human being has the spirit of life. That's how they're able to utilize reasoning and logic by the spirit he gave us. Think about that. So there's evidence in every human being the Most High exists. And that's the life he possesses. But that goes over a lot of people's heads. You know, Albert helped me understand that a long time ago, years ago. And this is what he said. You take a person that just passed away, and I'm talking about freshly. You know, they just, they flatline, as they call it. And the person that's right next to them that's still alive. What's the difference between the two? One, as they say, took their last breath. Now, I don't even want to call it a privilege, but I had the experience of being in a room with a person that took their last breath. And they literally take a last breath. And the doctors and the nurses, because they are acquainted with a person when they are dying, they let you know it's almost time. So at that particular time, the family gathered around the bed, and you watch the rising and falling of the chest, and that last rise and that last fall. And what we got to understand, the breath of life just came out from them. That's the difference. See? Every human being that has the breath of life has the essence of the Most High in them. Okay? He says, verse 20, Romans chapter 1. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made. See, Abba created the physical world to teach us his reality. But in order for us to grasp that reality, he got to lead us to it. He's got to open that up for us. You see? Because in our carnal mind, we don't get it. We miss it. But when he starts to talk to you and begin to give you things to perceive, it's only then that the eyes are open. See, it's like what he's doing. Let's go back for a second. Let's go back to the moment that we talked about already. The scripture says, when she saw that the tree was pleasant to the sight, good for food, tree desired to make one wise, etc. She partook of it, gave to her husband, he partook of it, and then it says that after they ate, their eyes were open. Excuse me. When their eyes were open, in the sense of to the knowledge of good and evil, right? Simultaneously, as we discussed, they entered into a deep sleep. So humanity on this side is in that deep sleep. But once we come to the knowledge of the Creator, right? That begins our awakening. See, that's where the idea of being woke actually comes from. Sadly, everybody claiming to be woke doesn't always fall on this side. Some people that claim to be woke are still on that side. But they understand the idea of being asleep. You know why? Because the opponent understands that idea. And all he did, he's repackaged that idea and he's selling it to people on this side under intellectualism. That's all he did. But everybody claiming to be woke is not woke. The only ones that are really woke are those who the Creator has opened their eyes. That's why when you go back to David's prayer, open thou mine eyes that I may behold wondrous things from your Torah. That's why he wrote that, as he was moved by the Holy Spirit. Because when the Creator opens our eyes, we're not going to see the world the way everybody else sees. Let's go back to something else we talked about. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways than your ways, my thoughts than your thoughts. So once we have Ruach HaKodesh, which is a little different than the basic essence or life force that we have, when we have the Ruach HaKodesh, he's given us something a little extra. You see? So that we can now develop his mind. See? So that we become more knowledgeable of his ways. Okay, but let's move on. I want to get through that. I want to hold y'all up. Verse 20 again. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. In other words, if we look and learn from the physical world, the Creator is revealing himself in a multitude of ways. All right? Verse 21. Because that, now here's the part right here that we really want to get to. Because that when they knew Elohim, there was a time in man's history they knew beyond a shadow of doubt Abba existed. There was no atheism. There was no agnosticism. They knew that the Most High existed. Think about the time from Adam and Hawa up to the days of Noah. They knew the Most High existed. But something was happening. Let's finish this up. Verse 21 again. Because that when they knew Elohim, they glorified him not as Elohim, neither were thankful, but, listen to this, became vain in their imaginations. In other words, their thoughts. Okay? Their thoughts. The fall of Adam and Hawa, even after they fell, they knew the Most High existed. The relationship they had with the Most High had been altered, but they knew there was still a mighty one in the heavens. Now, it's like this. With each generation that passes, right? They had a communication. They had a relationship. But with the next generation, it diminished. And with the next generation, it diminished. And as each generation comes about and that relationship diminishes, the knowledge, the experience of the existence of the Most High also diminishes. That's what's happening. And then at the same time, let's not forget about who's working behind the scenes. That unseen hand right there. Okay? The man behind the curtain. Okay? The whiz, or the wizard, if you will. Well, that's who that is. That's the real whiz. That's the real wizard. It ain't some man. And I think a lot of times when people think about conspiracy theories, they think that man is doing all these things. Man ain't doing these things. The opponent is doing all of these things. That's how come these conspiracies can pass from generation to generation. It's not humanity that's doing it. Humanity is duped. Humanity is being deceived by this one and his minions. That's who's doing the work. But let's move on. Again. But became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. We already know what the heart is. Their mind became dark. Something was changing, and it was progressively changing. Humanity became worse and worse. Matter of fact, there's a passage in the New Testament, and it talks about how evil men grow worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. Let's move on. Verse 22. He says, professing themselves to be wise. See? They think they know what they're talking about. So we go to their schools and we rehearse whatever information they want us to rehearse, and then we take tests to show that we have memorized all the information that they wanted us to rehearse, and they give us a piece of paper that says that we somebody. When in actuality, we're learning nothing but lies. Schools are nothing but indoctrination places. That's all they do. They're not really teaching you, they're indoctrinating you. Because they have to keep you bound to this system. Let's move on. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. And listen to what they did. Verse 23. And changed the glory of the uncorruptible Elohim. They changed it. What did they change it into? An image. Made like to corruptible man first. We began to worship one another. See? And to birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. In other words, there was a process. These things didn't happen overnight. See, everybody that is alive today, let's take the oldest person. I think the last time that I seen the oldest person, I think they were like 109 years old. So let's take the oldest person in the world right now, 109 years old, to the person that was born just a few moments ago, at some place, at some time in the world right now. We were all born into a system that was pre-packaged and ready for us. Everything was already here. All the belief systems, regardless of where it fell at, whether it's hedonistic, whether it's materialistic, whether it's intellectual, it was already here. Already established and running like a well-oiled machine. And we just born into a mass of confusion. That's what happened. But let's move on. He says, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible Elohim. Okay, we don't want to lose sight of that. But now I got two places we want to go. In Bereshit, which is Genesis chapter 4 and verse 26. Now this was shortly after the fall of Adam. It says, a son was also born to Seth, and he named him Enosh. At that time, men began to call on Yahweh's name. Now the question is, why does it say that? But some people may look at that and take it literal. Well, that means that at that time, that's when they actually called on him. No. Adam called on Yahweh's name. So it's not that it took that long for them to start calling on him. But here's why this is said. Now a distinction is being made. See? What distinction? Because now you have men that call on the name of Yahweh in contrast to those who call on whosoever else. That's why that's said. Something was happening to the people. Remember? Their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Right? But not only that, because this point right here in Genesis 4:26, that group of people existed up to the time of Noah and the flood. Now once the flood took place, you had Noah, his 3 sons, Noah's wife, and their 3 wives. So you had 8 people. All of these people knew beyond a shadow of doubt there was a higher power that existed. You know why? Because that higher power told them before the flood was coming, and instructed them to build the ark, to save them and those animals that they saved. So they knew beyond a shadow of doubt the Creator existed. They knew that. But guess what? The exact same thing happened again. So let's go here in Genesis chapter 10, picking up in verse 8. It says, Cush became the father of Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter withstanding Yahweh. And some people will say, hold up, brother, that's not what the scriptures say. Well, when you look at what it said, and the word says, who was before Yahweh, this is what it means. Let's say that the Most High is right there, and I'm playing Nimrod for this. So it said he was before him. That simply means I stood face to face with him. I withstood him. That's what that means. That's why it became a proverb. Listen to what it said. Verse 9. He was a mighty hunter withstanding Yahweh. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before Yahweh. He made a reputation for himself. And we look at what the name Nimrod even means, as we discussed before in another segment. It means continued rebellion. It's derived from the word marad, mem, resh, dalet, which means to rebel. And you add that nun to it. The nun is that seed which represents continuity. So the word means continued rebellion. So it didn't stop. He cleansed the earth. He's teaching us though. There's something in us still. Even though all of the unrighteous people, right? And Noah and his family were saved. But guess what? There was still unrighteousness even in Noah's family. And it comes out here. He says, verse 10. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, or Babel, or Babylon, which we understand now represents what? Confusion. But not only that, the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Now what you actually find, you do a research on the land of Shinar, you find that it actually points to the ancient land called Sumer. Do some research and look up the Sumerians. Okay? Let's go back to Romans chapter 1. He says, I'm going to start at verse 21 and read down to verse 24 so we can get that thought. Because that when they knew Elohim, they glorified him not as Elohim, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible Elohim into an image, made like to corruptible man, and to birds, and four-footed beasts, and creeping things. Wherefore Elohim gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves as a result of what they were doing. Here, it changed what they were doing in the physical realm. Verse 25. Who changed the truth of Elohim into a lie. Brother Shaul had to go back and show the history of humanity and how we got where we are. Mankind knew the Most High. Matter of fact, Genesis chapter 11, that was a time where they spoke the same language, had the same speech. It wasn't like it is today. Everybody knew the same language and had the same speech. You know what that points to? Everybody was under the word of Yah. That's what that points to. But as soon as the